Well, good morning. Welcome to Detroit in Black and White. I'm Adolph Mongo, and we're live at the Aloft Hotel, Detroit, David Whitney Building. Joining me, co-host Vanessa Moss, attorney, political consultant, and shit starter. Good morning, Vanessa.
Good morning. Good
Allan
morning.
Lengel, Washington Post, Detroit News, co-founder of Deadline Detroit.
Good morning.
Hey,
Good
how
morning.
you
Great
doing?
to be down here. The Grand Prix is happening. I won't be going, but it's nice. Something's happening downtown.
Well, it's something always
something's
happening
happening,
downtown. Something happening always downtown.
Something is always going on downtown.
You took the people mover here, right?
I did. I took the people mover, got off, just walked right on in, and I love it. I love it.
Detroit's public transportation.
Detroit's public transportation. But
people made fun of it when they first opened up. And listen, I was a real critic because I was working for the city, and they had a ribbon cutting, and they had Rosa Parks sitting there. I'm like, Rosa Parks, an icon and shit. What is she doing on the fucking people mover? You know, they use it as a prop, but it was what it was, and
it is what it is,
and it serves a purpose.
Yeah, I when I moved, I lived in the burbs for 32 years, and I moved into the city of Detroit downtown in the middle of the pandemic. This had to be 2020. In the last year, I used the people mover all the time. If I have court downtown, I take the people mover. I don't have to worry about paying for parking and get off, get a few steps in. I mean, it's the bomb.com, as I say. I love it.
Allan, you took the toy train here, right?
I took the Q line this morning. There were people.
I call it the toy train.
There were people coming down for the
Grand Prix.
The Grand Prix. I got off a little early. I got off at the arena, so I get a couple steps in there. But we at Deadline Detroit, we actually did a piece on people who rely on the people mover every day for getting wherever, going grocery shopping. There were a lot of workers downtown who would park somewhere and then get on the people mover and get to their destination. And then at the end of the day, so a lot of times it was pretty full. So I think sometimes, sometimes you go on, it's empty.
Right.
You go at 3 p.m, it may be empty.
Right, but in the morning, it's a lot of people in the morning.
We right across from what park is this?
Oh, Grand Circus Park.
Okay. They have what every Thursday?
Oh, every Thursday, I think they have the bourbon or the beer garden or whatever, but they're going to have live entertainment every Thursday. And actually here at the hotel, Gwen Fox will be performing every Friday. There's so much that's going on downtown Detroit, and you don't have to pay. A lot of this stuff is free. The parking is outrageous.
Yeah, outrageous.
What you have to pay for parking is outrageous, but there's something going on all the time. I couldn't wait to move down here. And then, it's like catch-22. Sometimes, I love it. And then other times I'm like, dang, I can't even get through traffic. So when I'm driving, the occasions I'm driving, I'm coming back in, it's like this. It reminds me of New York. I mean, it's like this on the weekend.
When I lived in D.C. for 14 years, and people would always ask me, how do you like living here? One of the first things I always say, I love the subway. I mean, during the week, I didn't use my car for the whole year, on the weekend, yoga, whatever.
See, you like that. But when I was in D.C., I get off at a station and the elevator wouldn't be working, and those escalators about 20,000 stories high. I'm like, I go right to the next one. I said, oh no, I'm not. Listen, but anyway,
on a hot day, it's about 95 degrees, and the escalators aren't working at all, and you got to climb them. And
it's intimidating. It's intimidating. But anyway, let's go to our weekly thing, outrage of the week. I'll start with you, Vanessa. What is your outrage?
I woke up this morning feeling so doggone good. I really didn't want. There's so many outrages. But I'm going to stick with something that's local and near and dear to my heart. There's a young man, 19-year-old, graduated from Seaholm High School, suffered from anxiety, buying pills on the street, bought some pills,
dead.
The pills is laced with fentanyl.
Uh,
That's pretty outrageous. It's pretty maddening. It's pretty sad.
It really is a lot of
it's-
anxiety medicine that he could have got a prescription.
Yeah, but you buy it off the street and you don't know what you're getting off the street. And these people, I don't understand, what is this fascination, I would say, with lacing pills with fentanyl, lacing the marijuana with fentanyl, and it's taking these people out. This is a 19-year-old. That's a kid.
Same way.
19-year-old
Same
kid.
way they used to lace joints and bombing fluid. I don't know why. People, and when people OD, remember growing up in the neighborhood when people heroin addicts OD, it seemed like the sales of heroin went sky high because people want that powerful shit.
That's outrageous. It's really sad.
That's too bad. They get the people that sold it to them.
No, I haven't seen that they've got the people that sold it to him. But you know what? He's one in a million. This is happening every day, all across the United States.
It's an epidemic.
Yep.
Allan, you're outraged.
My outrage. One of them is the whole drama in Washington over the debt ceiling thing. Such a waste of energy. I mean, first of all, you can't tell me that it isn't waste of spending. I mean, we're supposed to have inspector generals and stuff scrutinizing that kind of stuff. They probably don't do as good a job as they should. I'm sure we overpay for a lot of stuff. We waste money. We pay for consultants and all that stuff. But that being said, you can work that out not under the threat where the stock market is trembling. People are worried. The country's stressing out. The world is stressing out over our economy. And these, I give Kevin McCarthy some credit. I don't like the guy, but I give him credit for being an adult about this whole thing and risking possibly losing his standing as the Speaker of the House. But it's really, so, with Trump, the debt ceiling passed without any effort. Nobody opposed it because they know it's bullshit to do what they did.
But they're doing it.
Right. And to tag onto what you said it is BS. It's political theater, and people wonder why people don't trust Washington, don't want to be bothered, hate politics, because all it is political. It's theater. I checked out last week. I was like, you know what? We know they're going to get through it. Why am I even listening to this on the news? Why am I watching this?
Because it sounds
JOKE.
But listen, that's the way the game is played.
But you have to say Biden. You have to
Grandpa.
give him credit. Yeah, you have
Did he fall?
Yeah, Grandpa fell.
He needs to have somebody. He needs to have somebody next to him. I'm not laughing.
He need a
at
walker.
Him. I do too, because I fall all the time.
He
You
tripped
know
over
that.
something. No, it wasn't like he just.
This is about eight times.
No, he turned around and there was a big
God.
block of something, and he tripped over it.
Somebody put it there.
It was, yeah, right. They were like,
Oh, listen. You know that they're gonna dog. They're dogging.
But you know what? He's the master.
Lord
He's
Jesus.
the master negotiator. He plays it well, and don't underestimate Grandpa. I'm looking at a rematch of Trump and Joe Biden. That's just the way it is, and people might be tired of that scenario, but it's happening.
but don't also underestimate the fact that my father was 97. He would fall occasionally, never broke anything. You see people fall, they die, they're in traction. This guy got up.
Look at all the lawsuits in the city of Detroit, and I used to look at them. You got people tripping over sidewalks. I'm telling you, and these are not 60, 70-year-olds. These are 30, 40-year-olds, people breaking their ankles, etc.
Remember last year when I got back from Mackinac, I tripped right here on Woodward going into what's this restaurant right here?
Wasn't that after you
I
drank a keg of beer?
I could drink beer. Are you talking about out embarrassed. I was embarrassed. I was bruised, bleeding. I fall a lot.
you
I'm
got
clumsy.
You get up. I mean, there's people
I
know
had to
who
get
have
up.
fallen.
I had to get up out of,
I fell one
I got
time.
a reputation here. Okay?
I fell one time.
Dust yourself up and walk away.
I did. I was in so much
falling, you can kill yourself. But anyway, they need one of those life alerts for Biden.
He's got
Or
Secret
somebody to
Service
walk
standing
with
right
him.
there. He doesn't
Or
need-
somebody to walk with him. I
Well-
mean, when I saw that this morning, I was like,
If that's
"Jeez,
all they
man."
got on him, well, he's doing fine. Now, my outrage of the week is Mike Duggan was I was so happy up at Mackinac talking about the unemployment rate in Detroit went down. The lowest it's been in 20, 30 years. That's why, because people stopped looking for jobs. Or what used to be jobs for kids are now grown-ups are taking over all the fast food jobs, just like they took over the paperboy route. You know, when they got laid off from the plants and they ran the paperboys out of business. You know, this economy in Detroit, it's two Detroits, one that have
One is
everything,
black and one is white.
Yeah, but anyway,
Well, you
One
have-
is
the
green.
unemployment, I don't believe the stats. It's bullshit. There's a lot of unemployed people that just said, fuck it, I can't find a job. Transportation sucks because if you get a job, say outside of the city, sometimes you can't get a bus there. They don't have cars. People driving dirty. That no license. It's just a whole lot of
So
things.
let me ask you this.
So it's some bullshit.
Okay, but
It's bullshit.
you're at Mackinac Island. You're talking about setting policy in the city of Detroit. What are you supposed to go up there and say? You're supposed to say, "Oh, crime is up.
Yeah.
The city is dirty.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here."
Yeah.
That is not what you're going to do as the mayor.
We got
You're
lead
not
in the
doing that.
water.
That's not, no.
People that don't
There's
have
some good
water.
things that's going on.
Yeah, for
There's
those,
some good things that's going on. Come on now.
The rich
Come on
get
now.
richer,
And
and the
unless
poor
you
get
can
poor.
show me.
We're not from Missouri. We're not from
He's
Missouri.
looking at stats. I'm saying, what are
Listen,
you basing it on?
I'm basing it on talking to people in the street that I know.
He
that
don't even
some
talk to
kids-
people, so
Yes,
y'all
I
don't
do.
believe him.
Yeah, I'm talking to
He's
you.
not even friendly.
Yes, I
He doesn't even talk to people.
it's
Don't believe that.
Okay.
Duggan when he was up in Mackinac was kind of touting and saying, "Don't believe the media about."
And I don't believe Duggan.
We have great neighborhoods, and I agree. There are, and some of the neighborhoods have come back that were kind of on the decline: Palmer Woods, Boston
Okay.
Edison, Indian Village.
The usual suspects.
But there are improvements in the neighborhood. There have been improvements in the neighborhood. And if you
Okay.
talk to people,
Detroit
there's
is
still-
dirty, man.
but-
Detroit, and they need to pick up the litter, the garbage, cut the grass. It's terrible. I'm sorry.
But if
you can clean, listen, you go to somebody's house. Okay, they got a clean living room. Go in the back. Look at the bedrooms and mold in the basement.
So are you implying that
Yes,
that's what
right.
happened for this?
Yeah, they
Grand Prix
clean
that
they clean it up. Yeah, what
No,
did they?
no, it's different.
Wait a minute.
It's different
What,
than what
what
it
did they do to
was.
7 Mile? That church over there.
Look, in 2006,
Did they hide that out? I forgot it ain't downtown.
No,
But-
it's not
But when the golf time comes,
They do
they-
put
yeah, right.
but I'll say
Yeah.
this, and I wasn't here. I was in D.C. at the time. But in 2006, they had the Super Bowl. I think it was 2006, and they cleaned up downtown.
Yeah,
and
they
did it all.
they
But
painted
now-
the windows
but they
and
don't
all that
have to
shit.
do that now. I mean,
They
downtown is.
I agree with
I
you.
know,
now,
right.
and I
Downtown,
usually
you
don't
actually
agree
have-
with you.
I mean, it's like a mini block of Chicago, but we have the Nike store. I was there on a Sunday. There was
That's
lot-
all we
there was
got
a-
is a Nike
We got
store.
the Gucci store. We have all these different boutiques.
You buying
Stop
some
it.
Gucci's? Listen, we're gonna take
I'm
a break.
drinking
We're gonna
Gucci
take
and
a
gold,
break.
baby. I don't know why you playing with me.
Let's take a break.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. There are payment plans available to help save your property. Visit our website at treasurer.waynecounty.com or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com for further information. We're here to help.
Okay. Yeah, well, we're back.
Oh,
and-
here it is.
okay. We got our first guest coming on, Will Jones from WDIV.
Okay.
new reporter. I guess this is
Well,
second
he's
trip
returning.
coming.
It's
Yeah.
his second.
Let's bring him on.
let's bring him on. Hey, Will.
Hey,
Can you
how's
hear
it
us?
going?
Okay, excellent, excellent. We'll do a little intro. You're actually a native of Cincinnati, correct?
Yes.
You worked at a lot of different markets. You came to WDIV. You left and went to Chicago for 7 years, and you just returned earlier this year. And now you're a reporter and an anchor. What made you return to Detroit?
Well, I've always loved Detroit. I grew up visiting it. I have a lot of family here. And when the opportunity came along, it was something that was unexpected. I had always been focused on reporting, and that has been my goal. I like being out in the streets, talking with people. And this opportunity came along, and my old news director reached out, and I just thought it was such a great opportunity. And it just worked out with my wife too. Her job, she could work, be remote. So everything just fit together perfectly.
Okay. And you left in, was it 2013 that you left here?
2015, at the end of
15, absolutely.
Where was he at?
And you were here, and then you went to Chicago, but you left, and the city was coming out of bankruptcy, I believe, at that time. And then you come back now. What are you seeing in the city that you didn't see before, or what's?
It's just amazing. So when I got here in 2012, the city was about to go into bankruptcy, and the emergency manager, and to see that process play out, and see how all the pieces work together to get the city back on better footing, and then to leave when the city was coming out of bankruptcy, and now to come back. It's been a lot of changes. I apologize. My dog is in the background. And the cat is bothering the dog. To see all the changes, it's been amazing. I've come back for family engagements over the years, but downtown specifically, all the new restaurants, the hotels, they're building more hotels, the nightlife beyond Greektown. It's just been amazing to see this development. It's a very vibrant and lively city. And then going toward the neighborhoods where, when I was here, it was very depressing to see the amount of houses in disrepair. You go down streets and you see one standing house and overgrown grass, and now to see a lot of those houses gone. There's still a lot of houses to get rid of and take care of, but just the progress. I've been amazed, and my wife, who isn't from here, and trying to sell her on coming to Detroit, and she hasn't lived here. She has family here as well, and for her to come and when we were looking for places to stay and just to see the city, she was amazed.
Will, I think I read your story. You're the one with you have the aunt and uncle here, and someone had a dream or a vision about you coming here to the city of Detroit. Would you share that story with our viewers?
So I've always wanted to be a journalist since a young kid. So I would come and visit, and my aunt would say, "You're going to work at Carmen Harlan's station." And for me, Carmen Harlan, I knew she was a huge personality here, but as a kid, you really don't pay much attention to it. So when I was in South Carolina, it was my second job. I actually got a call from Detroit. I didn't apply, and they reached out about a reporter opening. And I remember telling my aunt about it, and she was just so happy and surprised, and that it was all her dream was coming true, or her prediction. And I remember when I interviewed, and I was worried, I don't know if I'll get the job. She's like, "You're going to get the job." So they were just so proud to see me on television in their community. They would tell their friends, but I couldn't get them to switch over though all the time. After I was on in the 5 and the 6 p.m. They had this tradition of watching Judge Judy, and then somehow they would not, and then Fox 2 would come on, and then they would always forget sometimes to turn over. But yeah, they were so proud. And I remember when I was reporting here, they were saying during the wintertime especially, "Why don't they ever let you inside?" I'm like, "Well, I don't want to be inside. Right. I like reporting." So unfortunately, my uncle and aunt, they passed away, but I'm sure they would be extremely proud to know that I'm back and I get to get inside sometimes.
What's the big difference between Cincinnati and Detroit? I used to hang out in Cincinnati, Lincoln Heights, and all those little areas. You got a White Castle on every corner. Yeah. What's the difference between those two cities?
My speaking of Lincoln Heights, my sister is a teacher in that community, and she really enjoys it. I would say the big difference is I find Detroiters to be very upfront. I remember going to my first city council meeting. I was just surprised at what people would say, vocalize. Sometimes people have these thoughts in their heads, but they don't bring them out to the forefront. So I would say the big difference that I find with Detroit and Cincinnati is just people are just more upfront. They put it all out there, the good and the bad, and I appreciate that.
What do you see as a difference in the market? Chicago's obviously a bigger city than Detroit. Got more happening in some ways than Detroit. What do you see in terms of the news market? What's the difference between Chicago and Detroit?
I would say Detroit is the best news market I've ever worked in because there's just so much going on. You have your crime, which I don't like covering in any place I've lived. You have your political stories, corruption. You have your strange breaking news stories that I remember. I did a story here about a woman who had killed her kids and put them in the freezer, and they had been there for 3-4 years.
I remember that one.
And so those types of stories, and just if you're interested in making a difference, there are a lot of issues to expose, a lot of good things to expose in this community. I was always very interested in my sociology classes in college, and I feel like that Detroit in many ways is like a classroom where I'm constantly learning, and some of the things that I learned about in school, socioeconomic issues are present here. And what I love about this community is that people are willing to put in the work to try to make it better. People are engaged. They watch the news here. People that you may walk past and wouldn't think that they had any idea of what's going on. I find that not to be the case here. A lot of people are engaged and have opinions about where the city is heading or what's happening in their community across Metro Detroit.
Do you miss Chicago?
I love Chicago. I went to college there, so it was always my dream to work there.
You went to Northwestern.
Yes.
Medill.
And so I didn't think I would ever leave. And people have asked me, and I thought when I was going to move back here that I was going to miss it or compare the two. And I really don't compare the two. I think they're two different types of cities. And I think Detroit has a lot to offer. And I'm really, really happy here exploring and learning new things about the city. Chicago's a quick drive away, and I'll go visit, but Detroit is special to me. And even when I lived in Chicago, I would always brag about Detroit. Anytime I met someone from Detroit or anyone said something negatively or positively about Detroit, I would chime in because
what took you to Chicago? Why did you go to Northwestern?
Would you say? Sorry.
Why did you attend Northwestern?
Because it was a good journalism school, and I didn't want to go to school in Cincinnati, and that was a good compromise with my parents. It wasn't too far away, but it was also not in Cincinnati, and it was just a good journalism school. So that was the main reason.
And how do you see any difference in the type of journalism that's being done in Chicago and being done here? One of the things I think over the years we've seen less, at least in the Detroit market, less investigative reporting. We used to have a much deeper bench on the investigative reporting. Do you see that as something that's gone by the? You guys still do some, but not as much as you used to.
They don't have a team.
Yeah,
they used to have teams.
Have a team. Do you see that as something that's is gone from TV, or is continuing to fade, or do you see a return of that?
I think it's fading, and unfortunately so. I think mostly because it just takes a lot of time and resources to get those investigative stories on the air. A lot of stations, they have added newscasts, but not really added the number of reporters to fill the newscast. So more people are doing more with less, and news stations can't afford to have a reporter off the air for a few days while they work on an investigative piece. And sometimes with your investigative stories, you may work and work, and then you do all the research and realize maybe this isn't a story, or it goes in a different direction, and then you need more time. So I've just seen that across the country at a lot of stations where, they're not investing in their investigative unit, and I think the viewers are losing out. With Local 4, I think it is still a priority, but I just think that it's not in the same way in years past, where they had a huge a team that was just dedicated to investigative work. I think right now it's kind of spread out among all reporters. Everyone is required to look into things and pitch investigative stories, but in terms of having these dedicated units, I think that's slowly going away.
How often do you get out and into the community? And I'm not talking about just being assigned somewhere, but actually go out at neighborhood bars or looking for stories or whatever. As an old journalist, we used to do that. We used to hang out a little bit. People tell you in a bar, they'll tell you what's happening in the neighborhood. They'll tell you who committed what crime. What about the journalists of today? Do y'all do those kind of things?
Well, personally with me, it's all I try to engage with the community as much as possible outside of work, because I think when you're coming into a lot of these communities for work, it's very transactional. You're trying to get some information there, and they're trying to give you some information. Oftentimes you really don't have time to sit and talk. And I think that's what I loved about Detroit the last time. Having family in an area, you're invested, and they're inviting you to, you're going to their homes, you're meeting their neighbors, you're going to their events and their parties. So it's very easy to get involved in the community. And church is always an excellent way to do that. And so that's what I did last time. So that is my goal, to get out and explore and make sure that I'm engaging with people in the community and not just living in a bubble, because it's easy to live in that bubble. You go to work and go home and just talking to the same people. But I think more journalists need to live in areas where they cover or spend some quality time there, because you truly can't understand a neighborhood if you're just going in for whatever breaking news story it is or whatever story you're covering. So I think that is extremely important, and that is my goal. I always like to say, I want to be invited to the cookout.
Okay.
Will, I want to ask you a question. It's we talked about socializing and socialization, etc. And there's a huge difference in social life here in Detroit, Michigan, than that in Chicago. So I want to ask you about Chicago. Chicago, you got Common. Ye is from Chicago. Selena Johnson. You have a huge dance community in Chicago. I'm started Chicago Stepping. How did you engage in those arenas, and did you meet any of those people like Common, Oprah? R. Kelly is gone right now, but any of those people, did you? Because they have a huge entertainment industry there in Chicago. It used to be that way here in Detroit, Michigan. We still have quite a few people that are moving and shaking here. But, can you give us some highlights?
I wish I would have seen a lot of those celebrities. I ran into R. Kelly the night he got out of jail at the McDonald's in my neighborhood.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so that was...
I heard that's where he would go pick up people at McDonald's. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So that was interesting. But in terms of a lot of the celebrities, I didn't meet a lot of those folks. I was more, in the community. And for me personally, I'm just more concerned with just everyday people who are in their neighborhoods doing what they can to make it better, or trying to make ends meet, or trying to support their families. That's always been my focus, and the excitement was there for me meeting those people, because I oftentimes was just very inspired by people who've been through things or who haven't been through things, and they're just trying to make their community better. But yeah, Chicago had a vibrant nightlife and a vibrant entertainment industry. We had an entertainment reporter who got to do all the fun stuff with that.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So
let me ask you this.
Then wrap it up. Then we'll wrap it up.
One last question here. If I read correctly, one of the issues you covered race in Chicago, and what do you see? You see any differences in race in terms of the issues in Chicago than Detroit? Do you see Detroiters as being any different in terms of their attitudes about race? Or
Yeah, the reason I took this job, and it came about after George Floyd, is that I was tired, and I was kind of tired of it when I was here too as well. Just going in a lot of these communities and covering violence and asking for a picture and a grieving loved one to talk to me on camera, and then trying to make a deadline and then on to the next story. And I just felt like I was producing. I told my former news director this, fear entertainment, or grief entertainment, that I wasn't really adding value by having a grieving person or someone who's been through tragedy on the news, and specifically violence. So I took this job because I really wanted to spend more time in the community and showcase, like, why are these issues there and what are people doing about it? You often hear people say, well, nobody's speaking out about this, or no one's trying to fix these things in their community. They're doing that. It's just that we haven't been shining the spotlight on that. So that is like my big passion. But in terms of like race relations here in Chicago, in terms of in Detroit, I would say that I think Detroiters are more out in the open with it. I think Detroiters will call it like they see it. And I think that is crucial to finding a solution. I think in Chicago, it's a very segregated city, but people aren't as vocal about some of the issues impacting different communities and focusing too on those solutions. So I find Detroiters have been through a lot with race. So I find them to be more mature and able to handle the conversation than a lot of places.
When we've been real open with it.
Yeah, I feel
time.
like Detroit is really out front on it. Like DC was somewhat similar, but I see other cities where it's not as.
Well, anyway, we're gonna have to have you back on, Will. Really, thanks for coming on.
Welcome back to Detroit.
Thank you for having me. And I love talking about Detroit and talking about different issues. So I'm always happy to have a conversation about anything.
Good. Glad
Congratulations, Will.
and glad that you're back for the second time around. Hopefully, you be one of those long-term folks and don't get snatched up by the Big Apple or some of those other places. Will Jones from WDIV Channel 4. Thank you.
Thanks,
and
Will.
we'll take a break and come back and continue the conversation on Detroit in black and white.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. There are payment plans available to help save your property. Visit our website at treasurer.waynecounty.com or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com for further information. We're here to help.
All right.
Yeah, we're back. That was a pretty good interview.
That was very good.
Vanessa, we know you know all the celebrities, Yo, Ye, and Ying, and all that. R. Kelly, and have you seen him yet? Have you went to visit?
No, but
Listen.
it's interesting that he said that he saw him at a McDonald's, because this is a true story. I've heard, I talked to a couple of women who indicated that he actually
Picked him up at McDonald's.
That was his. But that makes sense if you're not on the concert scene. If you want to pick up somebody young, high school, college student.
One of my former roommates
McDonald's.
up at school, he majored in music and stuff, and he played 15 years with the OJs, keyboard player, etc. But he got started out with R. Kelly, and he said he couldn't take it anymore. He said R. Kelly was doing so many things that, he was kind of a religious guy. Mm-hmm. He said R. Kelly was out of his mind. He said what these young girls, you know what? The backup band, he put them in a Fleabag motel. He stayed in a 5-star, and man, he said it was rough touring with the guy.
And now he's in a Fleabag hotel.
Yeah, he is. Well, there's no question about it. Well, somebody talking about politics told me that your favorite congressman was doing a tremendous job. Shree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who told you that? And what has he done?
Adolph's messing with-
Exactly.
I think Adolph's messing with
I mean, what has he done? What is he doing?
That's what I want to know. You defended him the last time.
I didn't defend him. What I said was, listen, if we're going to be responsible, we have to be responsible and truthful. Now, I will ask you this, and I will ask our viewers this, is as a freshman congressperson, what do you expect? What are your expectations? What are your expectations?
I said nothing.
No, you don't have any. Do you have any expectations?
I expect nothing. I have nothing.
Yes, a freshman congressman.
Nothing.
Your friend, he's
Zero.
your congressman, right?
Yes, he is.
What are you looking for? What are you looking for?
I want-
mean, he's been there how long now?
Not that long.
Too long.
Yeah, not that long, but it's like, you know what? I mean, the most basic thing, look, it's hard to be a shining star. You know, Rashida Tlaib was able to be because
she was all smoke. She was all bullshit.
But she was able to rise above very quickly by calling
people a motherfucker and all that. But what did it get her?
But I think it's hard for people, for Congress members initially to pass like big legislation.
What did Brenda Lawrence do? She was there 10 years or so. What did she do?
I don't know.
You the reporter.
Yeah, what did John Conyers do?
Well,
What did John Conyers do? He was there 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. The only job John Conyers ever had, he worked for John Dingell, and then he went and ran. What did he do? Jazz is a holiday. I'm just naming them. What do these folks do? He became a national congressperson.
Right.
Tlaib is the voice of. She called herself the voice of Palestine, and she doesn't live in Palestine. She lives in the district here, and Detroit has put her in.
My criticism
Zero.
of Rashida Tlaib is that she hasn't done anything for the Palestinian people except elevate herself as a hero because she trashes Israel, which is I don't blame her from her perspective, but it doesn't help improve the lives.
And the only reason I said about your he represents my district is that he do nothing. A politician, he's a carpetbagger, and now we're looking at a Senate race from a Slockin. I'm sorry, I can't support her, but who else can you support that's running against her?
The Senate race?
Yeah, another. We already got two senators. Gary Peters is what has he done?
So see, this is my problem when you say what have these people done.
Tell me.
They have to listen. They have to go to work every day. They have to show up. They have to vote. They have to look at these different pieces of legislation.
They don't. They got people that do that. They got people that do that.
I don't think that it's fair to say
yes, it is.
It's
that
people aren't doing anything.
Okay.
Even if I don't support you, I'm not going to say anything.
City council, they working?
I'm not. Yes, they work.
Yeah, they working overtime to give Mike Ilitch and them $80 million.
But they're working.
What they doing working?
I just don't.
I forgot, Vanessa. You thought it was okay for them to hire their friends and relatives.
You didn't forget. You remembered. You talking about it now, and I still say the same thing. I stand on what I stand on. I had no problem with it.
Okay.
And guess what?
You got grandma as the assistant.
Absolutely.
You got the mama as the chief of staff.
If you are
got
qualified,
the stepdaddy as the driver.
Not?
Yeah, right.
If you're qualified, why not? Your problem and his problem was this. You gave the scenario. Mm-hmm. Well, what they should have did was this. I had somebody.
Councilwoman Vanessa Moss. Councilwoman Vanessa Moss.
It's the same.
Councilwoman Vanessa Moss has 4 positions, and all of them are occupied by relatives.
If the person is qualified, what difference does it make? And if you're doing it all the way up in Washington, D.C., what's wrong with doing it in the city of Detroit?
So who's doing it in D.C.? Who's doing it in D.C.?
Nothing. The former guy that was in office.
Who is that?
the guy that you guys like to talk about. I don't say his name because I'm not a fan. I'm definitely a foe.
Donald, Joe Trump,
Whatever.
John.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'll say, I think it's a little unfair, like Gary Peters. I think Gary Peters has been an effective senator.
How?
Well, I can't.
How?
I've read stuff where
What stuff did you read?
I can't remember now. But no, I'll say this: it's very easy to paint a politician and say, as a do-nothing person, when in fact, look, Rashida Tlaib, I think, is one of their obligations is constituent services,
Right?
And I think some of those Congress members like her do a good job of constituent services.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
But legislatively, there aren't people.
So how do people
bills.
how do people get bills through there? Why don't we have Congress people that can get some major bills through?
But you don't know. You don't even know which Congress members are doing what in terms of co-sponsoring.
I know
bills
in
and
Detroit they haven't done shit.
Yeah.
That's all I can talk about.
Yeah.
No, I'm seriously. Now, when you see somebody like, I tell you who was effective when they were in Congress. There were a couple of them.
John Dingell.
Joe Nolenberg. He was good. Even though he was Republican, you can go to his office. They helped you out.
Carolyn Cheese Kilpatrick
She was
effective,
pretty
she
good.
brought a whole lot of money back.
Candace Miller was pretty good. I'm gonna tell you, there's some people that's been good, and then there's some people that did jack shit.
But
that
then,
was sitting up in there.
You sit there and you say that.
Yeah.
People elected them and put them in office.
I know, and I help put people in office that turn out to be bullshit. I worked as a district manager in Congress, and I know what people come and the complaints and how effective a congressperson is what kind of staff that they have. Now, that's what makes a good congressperson.
Mm-hmm.
The congressperson can be a real asshole, but if they got a real good staff, they can get things done because people complain about a lot of issues that city council people should be dealing with.
Well, Eric Brown agrees.
With who?
With me, I guess.
Yeah, he said Detroit has been failed miserably by those elected
Right.
to serve them in D.C.
Yeah, there's no question about it. But I asked that because you see them grandstanding, and when we had Jim Nardoni on last week, and he talked about the cop, all they wanted to do was honor the cop that got killed. He lived in Tlaib district, and she voted against it. Well, only one or two. Even the crazy ass Marjorie Taylor Greene and all this other bullshit, they voted for the resolution honoring these fallen police officers.
What was her
and she didn't.
rationale?
Oh, because she just pissed off at the Republicans. She want to be different. There's always you want to be different.
Her ego gets in the way of being more effective.
She's full of shit.
I think y'all beating up on her because she's a woman.
No, I'm beating up on her because she's a fraud. She's a fraud. She's a fucking fraud.
And I'm not going to participate in it.
Yeah.
Well, he's beating up on her, and I'm saying.
Don't say he's a woman. He's so I tell you. You know what? We got two of the worst. Two of the worst Congress people. They all in that represent Detroit.
So what is the answer?
The answer is the people need to get off their ass
and
run
against Shree Senator.
Probably about 25 people.
Yeah, exactly. And so that means exactly. This last time, nobody lined up and said, hey, this is our person. Yep. We need to support that person. You had all these people that got in a race, all of them with their egos. I understand there was some people that there were conversations.
Douglas could have got them out. He could have got him out. He could have got him out.
That he has some conversations, but you can't make people do what they don't want to do.
Yes, you can.
No, you cannot.
Yeah, you know how to sugarcoat it.
You
That's what made Coleman Young a great mayor, because he knew how to do it. He knew how to maneuver folks to get out, and if you crossed them, he knew how to get back at you. But we don't have folks like that anymore. And people say, "Oh, I don't like the machine politics." but sometimes the machine
Duggan-
politics work.
Duggan operates that way. If
Yeah,
does-
but
Duggan will tell somebody, look, you're not going to vote with me. You're not going to be, with the program. I'm going to get someone to run against you.
But Duggan and his crew are like locusts. They go to a crop and they eat it all up, and then they move on. And that's
that
what
mean?
he did.
What does that mean?
He did that to the prosecutor's office, to the DMC, and did it now to Detroit. Now he's looking to go up 996 to Lansing with that same group of folks, and they're gonna eat. I know what he's gonna do, because before he used to say, "I'm not running for governor." Now he's not saying anything. He's getting ready for to run. They moving Garland Gilchrist. I don't know. They trying to put him on a desert island by himself, telling him he could run for mayor of Detroit, and he really don't want to run for mayor of Detroit. Dennis Archer Jr. positioned himself to run for mayor.
Why are you spilling all the tea?
Because I like to
spill it. Close to our
Right,
vest, and now
right,
you're spilling it.
Right.
Oh gosh.
If I got
We've
it, I'm gonna
talked
tell
about
it.
this. Why
I'ma
are you
tell it.
telling it?
Because people should know. People should
What
know.
do you think? What's the best path for Garland Gilchrist?
If whatever he wants, he's sitting in a position. I'm gonna tell you, being lieutenant governor is like being a vice president. It's like having an appendix. Appendix used to do stuff, but now it's useless. Only thing he can do to you is kill you if it bursts. That's why they take it out. No, I don't know what his course is.
Yeah.
Well, at one time
Yeah.
we thought that he was, and he toyed with it for a hot second, running for Senate.
Right.
And I thought that, I thought that would have been ideal, because
If
we talked
Stabenow
about-
would have stepped down and she could appoint, but Stabenow's not stepping down, and they already
Like
made their
Dianne
decision.
Feinstein.
Right.
What she got? She thinks she's on the moon somewhere. You know.
She should step down.
Yeah.
Well,
definitely.
wait a minute. Speaking of Feinstein,
They've talked about Oprah.
Right. That's where I was going
Yeah,
with
yeah, the
this.
governor
was talking
about putting
but
Oprah in
she
their
don't want
interim.
that.
How you know?
I don't think she would.
How you know? Ain't nothing wrong with Oprah. We done had
I didn't say there was anything wrong
entertainers
with it. I said,
in
I
the
don't think
Senate
she
before.
wants it.
We done had entertainers in the Senate before.
Right. So,
We done had
Get on it,
we done had the WWE governor of Minnesota. We done had Bubba from the Heat of the Night was the mayor of California City.
Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
yeah,
Sonny Bono. And when he died, his wife,
Wife,
an
yeah.
ex-stripper, took his spot.
Al
So
Franken.
yeah,
I just don't think she wanted.
Bill Bradley.
I mean,
I
it
don't
would be
think she
fun for her.
We had Martha Reeves, our own Martha Reeves.
Oh, who got her star, by the way?
Oh, somebody paid
She
for it.
got.
Where'd she get a
She had
start?
a. Hollywood. Walk
You
of
have to pay
Fame.
50
You
grand.
have to pay for that star.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know
And she had fundraisers, and she was able to get the money. So
What's
I
that
think that's
cost?
awesome. You said 50.
50 grand or
Yeah.
more.
Wow, let's
So
get Vanessa a star.
Oh, y'all want to raise money and give me a star? Okay.
1-800. And we should remind people also
That
if
was a
you-
setup.
if you want to send a video with expressing your opinion, a minute or under, and you can send it to our email, Detroit in black and white 313 at gmail.com.
What about
Yeah.
our webpage?
And our webpage is up now. It needs to be a little bit. We're just launching our website. It's Detroit in black and white. It's going to have every show on there, every video or a podcast if you want to listen to it by podcast. And again, it's just DetroitInBlackAndWhite.com.
And what we want you to do is, if you're watching this on Facebook, we want you to share it. We want you to like it. If you're watching it on YouTube, we want you to like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. And tell your friends about Detroit in Black and White. We're going to be here every Saturday from 10 until we decide that we're going to go off air.
but you know what? And we talk about the politics. I'm just thinking back when Granholm said, these 4 years, we're gonna blow you away. Blew the hell out of the state of Michigan. It ain't recovered since. And I like Big Gretch. I like her, but Benton Harbor and these city. She said she was going
Flint.
to deal with Flint, etc., Pontiac.
Yeah.
You know what? Not one damn thing. It's like, oh, go away. Highland Park is it's
Life
imploding.
support.
And no, I don't even think it's life support. It's
Yeah,
brain
life
dead.
support. Oh,
It's
goodness.
fucking brain dead.
It feels like Highland Park, we've said it before, is the city that's been forgotten. You drive
Right.
through there, it's like all the problems of Detroit and very few of the amenities of Detroit.
I remember I asked one time one of the mayors of Highland Park when they had the 100th anniversary of Ford Motor Company. I said, that plant, now that's the first plant that they had. What are you going to do with it? You should embarrass Ford.
Right.
And he said they didn't even invite them to the party. So I said, this is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, say they didn't even acknowledge them.
Yeah.
And then, so this is what we deal with the politicians. Packard plant, how many years? 60, 70 years abandoned. Now they tearing it down a little bit.
I think they've torn some down. The guy who bought it.
He lost it.
That's
Brazilian
because
guy.
because we got do nothing politicians in charge. The church up there, that church on 7 Mile. I'm sorry, perfecting church, got to go.
Look at Corktown.
Got to go.
Look at Corktown. How long it took
to
get
get
the
Tiger Stadium because
I mean,
they had
that
5 people that says we want a Tiger Stadium. You can't tear it down. Yankee Stadium, they tore down so fast and built a new Yankee Stadium. And here, Tiger Stadium, they wanted to keep
Detroiters are different. We're different.
Yeah, I guess Will Jones said we are different.
We are different. But you're talking about politics. Let's talk about what's going on there in Greektown in this proposal that this city council has. I guess they want to make it a gun
People
free
gonna care
zone.
what they gonna do.
What do you think
Well,
about
people,
that?
I mean,
'Cause
they
there were
should
some
try.
protesters
I
there.
agree. I think they should try. Look, we were there last year at
Not
Deadline
gonna happen.
Detroit.
Not gonna
we
happen.
did a video, and maybe we'll play it
Not gonna
next
happen.
week here. The problem is you have people open carry. They were busting people that night. You could see the bulge in the back of their pants there. They were busting people. Some had licenses, some did not. There's a lot of people carrying guns to an entertainment district. It's an entertainment district, and people should go there for entertainment. There are plenty of people who will not go to Greektown on a Saturday night because it's the young people are just going there for a place to gather.
It's really not Greek anymore.
Well, yeah, a lot. There's still a little bit. Actually, yeah. I mean, a lot of the stuff when we were growing up, like when we were teenagers or in our 20s or whatever. I mean, you had bakeries, you had little shops where you get a Greek loaf of bread. They had barrels of Greek olives. They had all these great Greek wines. Mm-hmm. Those places are gone.
So you think it should be a gun-free zone?
I think so. I think so. I think they should, and they can pull that off. Look, you have people going into Comerica Park who I saw when this is before all the security was going on in DC when they were opening the new basketball arena. They had Bill Clinton coming that night, and I was stationed in the back. We were watching, everything. They were towing away cars that were in the back, even a Coca-Cola truck. They were pulling it away when the president came, but their security, and they had metal detectors, and I thought, how the hell are you going to have metal detectors at a stadium like that? But now we have metal detectors everywhere. You can have entrances to Greektown where you have to.
This is the thing.
No, nobody wants to go there. I stopped going to the movie theaters. If I gotta go walk through a metal detector to see a movie, you can have the fucking
You
movie.
see Americana on Greenfield where a guy pulled out a gun and started shooting at the screen.
This is the thing, though. This is the thing for me. If you're talking about doing that in Greektown, which is part of downtown, why are you protecting just that little area as opposed to the entire?
Get some giant
and my
metal
thing is
detectors.
my thing is this. I don't know if that really is going to solve the issue. I think the mentality of people has to change. I don't know if that is really. I don't have the answers, but I do know that the mentality has to change. Listen, I'm one of those people. I I could go and get a license to carry. I've had people encourage me every day. My sons, Mom, go get your license to carry. But my mindset is, no, I don't want.
I'm gonna get me a tank.
I don't want a license
what
to
I'm
carry. So
gonna
I
do.
think it starts with that.
Listen.
You asked me how.
Yeah.
It starts with
People
that
not
mindset.
giving up their gun. People don't want it.
Yeah, and I don't think
They don't
passing a
want it.
resolution
It
saying
don't
you
mean
can't
shit.
carry a gun in Greektown is going to solve the issue.
It don't
I'm
mean
sorry,
shit.
it's not going.
It's
It's going to
I'm
solve
with
an
him.
issue for some of the stores that are trying to have
What
commerce
stores?
there.
It's a
The
bleak. It's a block.
restaurants.
It's a block long. I'm not
Well-
trying to be funny, but really,
But it's been the gem of the city, not so much anymore, but it was the gem of the city.
so now you're gonna protect something that was
Well, look, if they can set up, not
the
necessarily.
Greektown that was
Look how many police we have there.
the
in
Greektown that was.
Well,
And they
it's
still can't.
it's still
And
there.
they still can't stop the
There's
fighting.
still some good restaurants. in Greektown there.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know. I don't eat on Greek Block.
What
But-
are you doing? A TikTok commercial for Greek time?
No, I mean, look, Greektown is not what it was.
It's all Greek to me.
There's
you
no
know?
question. Greektown's not what it was.
Well, I tell you what.
Maybe next week we'll play some of that video where we.
Well, let's yeah.
It's interesting.
But like I said, that people want to join in and comment on. Do you go to Greek Town? Send us a
Oh, you know what? That would be
60-second
great if they
response.
could do a 60-second, 30-second, even if they're in Greektown, if they want to show
Yeah,
some video. Hey, I'm
yeah.
standing on the corner of whatever.
Greek Town.
You know,
You know,
right.
As you know, where's the Greek places
Look,
at?
it's the Greeks were some of the people who ruined. They built up Greektown, and they also started bringing in the American.
Where you really
restaurant,
want to know the
the
history,
icon,
you really
the
want to
icon.
know the history.
Yeah.
Before that, it was the black community. You still got the
In Greektown?
the Baptist church is still there, right
Second,
there on Monroe.
yeah.
You know, yeah. Well, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
You know, the street wasn't named after Marilyn Monroe. It was,
Do we want to play a commercial before we go?
Yeah, Barry, one commercial, and then we'll wrap it up.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. There are payment plans available to help save your property. Visit our website at treasurer.waynecounty.com or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com for further information. We're here to help.
Well, another day has come and gone on Detroit in Black and White. I want to thank the folks, David Tinsley, the Assistant General Manager of Aloft Detroit Hotel.
Thanks,
It's a
Dave.
great setting.
Yeah, listen, they're going to be renovating this bar. I guess they're changing the name of the hotel. They're going to have a restaurant. They're fixing up the rooms here. It's really a nice boutique
They're gonna
hotel.
call it, I think, Detroit in Black and White.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
Detroit in Black and White Hotel.
Right.
Well, anyway,
Right. I want.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead, Vanessa.
I want to thank our Henry Mayers, Mr. Madness, our tech person.
You mean Helen Keller, the male version? Okay, and our other folks that make this
Absolutely.
broadcast possible. Jim Nardoni he used to rule the Trenton Police Department with an iron fist.
Did he really? Oh goodness.
And the undersheriff Teresa. I want to thank those two. Thank you. And Allan Lengel, your final thought?
My final thoughts is I'll do a Vanessa. It's a beautiful day out,
That's
and I think
right.
we should just get out, come downtown. Vanessa, you're going to the.
I don't know if
Grand
I'm going
Prix.
to the Grand Prix.
Oh,
I have
You're
tickets, but
wavering now.
I am. It's not fun if I'm not with who I want to be with,
Yeah.
and so they're not feeling so well. So
Oh,
I
okay.
probably won't go.
Okay.
So I'll be in. But everybody, come down, enjoy. Not just the Grand Prix, just enjoy Detroit. Just have fun
And I'm gonna do an Alan Fauci.
without your gun.
I'm gonna do an Alan Fauci. COVID is still around. It's still knocking people down.
Absolutely.
It's not going away. So anyway,
I
have a
think it's happening to more so to people who have never had it now. We're seeing people who are going on trips or whatever, or big gatherings, and they haven't had it before. They're getting it, and they're getting it kind of. It's difficult. But it's not as initially where people were on ventilators and stuff like that.
Right.
Although I'm sure some people who have respiratory issues, anyways,
They don't need
maybe
it.
more
But anyway,
problematic.
Detroit in black
But you
and
can
white.
still, I did get my latest booster 2 weeks ago.
Langle has
CVS right here on Woodward.
Langle has had a Guinness Book of Records. He had 8 booster shots. But anyway,
I'm
y'all
boosted.
have a good weekend. See you next week.
All right.